Who's on upset alert in week 2? We're going to give you our 8 games that are most likely to be upsets. Let's first look back at week 1. So again, we do this every week. We pick 8 games that we think are most likely to be upsets. The 8 games that are most likely to be upsets. And to be an upset, the spread has to be more than a field goal. It has to be 4 points or more. And so I've talked about this. I always say this just in case you're new. We've done this for years, and usually 2 of the 8 games turn out to be upsets. We've had it as high as 5, and we've had a few times where it was just 1 or even 0, but usually it's 2 or 3, but 2 is the average. So 2 is what you usually get, and that's exactly what we got last week. From the 8 games that we put on here, Boston College, Florida State, that one was on the video. That one was an upset. And then the game that I said was the most likely upset to happen, USC, LSU. USC was able to pull off the upset there. 2 big misses that I did not put on the video that were pretty big upsets. Vanderbilt upsetting Virginia Tech. I'll just be honest, I didn't see that one coming. When you research these teams all off season, you see Virginia Tech, all they have coming back. Looks like they should be a very solid team, potentially a top 25 team. And Vanderbilt really didn't do a whole lot. Upgraded at quarterback, but didn't really expect them to be that good. And yeah, they were very impressive. So Vanderbilt upsetting Virginia Tech was a big one. And then UNLV upsetting Houston. I don't know what the spread was on that game. I'm assuming it was at least a touchdown. But that was a tough loss for Houston. So let's now get into week 2. And again, we're going to go with the least likely to most likely upsets. And it was kind of tough this week. I don't really see a lot of big upsets happening. And circle back to last week, we almost saw a lot more upsets. We saw like Hawaii, UCLA. That one was close. South Carolina survived against Old Dominion. Texas Tech almost went down to an FCS team, and there was probably more than that. Oregon struggled. I wouldn't say they ever really had a chance to lose that game, but there were some surprises in week 1, and we'll probably see more surprises in week 2. But yeah, let's get started here. Least likely, Tennessee, NC State. Don't really think this one's going to happen. And if you look at the way the teams played in week 1, you'd say no chance. NC State really struggled against an inferior opponent, FCS team. But sometimes teams have those types of games, and then you overlook them. They bounce back the next week. They play a lot better, and NC State's still a talented football team. There's a reason the spread for this game is only 7.5. NC State's actually still ranked in the AP, I guess the AP and coaches polls. They're not in my top 25. But yeah, this is one that should be interesting. I think Tennessee's the better team, but if they overlook NC State, if NC State can maybe take advantage of some matchups in the passing game, perhaps they pull off the upset. But again, it's worth looking at least. And this one again is coming in as the least likely upset. But next we go to Kansas, Illinois. I'm surprised the spread's only 5.5 here. I feel pretty confident about Kansas, but that number definitely got my attention. Illinois is one of those teams that I've had a very tough time figuring out. It's when I think they're going to be good, they're bad. When I think they're going to be bad, they're good. I thought they were going to be bad this year, so they might turn out to be good. Who knows? They're coming off an easy win. Both of these teams against, I believe, FCS opponents. So, yeah, we don't know a lot about these two teams. Kansas is playing on the road, and I think Illinois is probably going to try to slow this game down, run the football. Also, Kansas lost their offensive coordinator, and we saw his impact on Penn State already. So, this one could be interesting. And again, that spread is low, so maybe this one does turn out to be an upset. Again, preseason I would have said no chance. Now, I'm thinking maybe. Who knows? All right, let's go next to Boise State, Oregon. This one's at 10 o'clock Eastern time on Peacock. Oregon favored by 19.5. I hate when they put these games on Peacock. I watch all my games on YouTube TV. I'm able to, go back and forth. I don't watch football usually live. I will pause the game, get to a commercial. I'll go to another game, start that game wherever I left off, and I avoid commercials. I sometimes even skip between plays. So I can really condense the game down. I usually can watch 3 games at once when I do that. Anyways, Peacock, when the game's on there, I can't do that. So I'll probably have to watch this game later. But anyways, Oregon's favored by 19.5 points. That's a big number. That is a big, big number, especially the way that they played last week. I guess the thought is here that they're going to bounce back and play much better. Boise State's defense wasn't great last week against Georgia Southern. But this is still a Boise State team that should be pretty good. A lot of people have them as the top Group of 5 team this season. And again, Oregon did not play well last week. I'm not expecting them to play like they did last week, but it still calls for concern to make you think this is not a guaranteed win. And again, I think that number is big, 19.5 points when they beat Idaho by, that game is only a 3-point game late in the fourth quarter. I think Oregon will win, don't get me wrong, but this one, again, is just one to keep an eye on. I think Oregon should at least be on upset alert. Let's move on now to App State Clemson. This one's at 8 o'clock Eastern Time on the ACC Network. Clemson favored by 17. That's probably about right. There are a couple of things here, though. First of all, it's App State. They've done it time and time again. They pull off upsets. It's just what they do. And so that alone is enough to put this game on upset alert. And App State's pretty good this year. So then you look at Clemson coming off of a very tough loss to Georgia, a physical game. Where is their mindset going into this game? It's hard to predict. So this is one I think you need to keep an eye on as well. I think Clemson's good enough that they'll be able to survive, but if they don't bring their A game, App State can absolutely pull off an upset here. All right, let's go to Mississippi State, Arizona State. This one's at 10:30 Eastern Time on ESPN. Arizona State, 6.5-point favorites. Arizona State was very impressive last week against Wyoming. I talked about this team. I said this many times that people were underrating this team a little bit. They had some talent on the roster, had a good defensive line, and we saw them look really good against Wyoming. Mississippi State, though, looked good last week as well. I know it was not as good of an opponent, but this is a team that we don't know a whole lot about with a new coaching staff. So maybe the Bulldogs are going to be pretty good. We just don't know, and that's why I think this is one that is hard to predict, and it's one that absolutely we should put Arizona State on upset alert. All right, next we got Texas, Michigan. This one's at noon Eastern Time on Fox. It's the big noon game. Texas favored by 7.5 points. I believe that number has gone up a little bit. Look, Michigan's offense is probably not going to do a whole lot in this game. They're just not. Texas defense looked really good last week. Michigan, it's just going to be an area where they struggle, but their defense is going to be really good, and their defense is going to give them a chance. They could slow Texas down, hold them to under 20 points, I think. If that defense plays as good as they are capable of playing, they're going to have, again, they have a great defense. I don't know that they're able to slow them down that much, though. And it's really going to come down to what they can do on offense. Can they score some points in this game against Texas? I think it's going to be tough. I like Texas here, but the game is in Ann Arbor. That's a tough place to play. Michigan absolutely has a chance. Their style of play could cause a problem for Texas, and perhaps they pull off an upset. We'll see, but this is definitely a game that I'm interested in watching. It's, I guess, the game of week 2. So looking forward to this one. Next, we got Colorado, Nebraska at 7:30 Eastern Time on NBC. Nebraska favored by 7.5 points. Pretty big number. Of course, Colorado beat them last year. Nebraska's at home this year. I think both teams are improved from where they were last season. I don't think the Colorado game against North Dakota State, that doesn't tell me that they're not going to be very good. North Dakota State's a very good FCS team. They had a great game plan. So I think Colorado has the playmakers. They've got the talent to win this game. It's going to be on the road. It's going to be tough. This is really one that I don't know. I mean, it's flip a coin for me. I think home field advantage, I'd probably lean towards Nebraska, but Dylan Raiola in his first real test against a Power 4 team. A lot of unknowns there. I think Matt Rule, as a coach, you have to give them an advantage there when you look at what he's done in this game. Big time program. Playing in the Power 4 or what was the Power 5 at Baylor, and Colorado just didn't do great in some of the big games last year. So I don't know what's going to happen, but it's definitely one where Nebraska should be on upset alert for sure. And then our final game, the most likely upset in my opinion, this one's at noon Eastern Time on ABC. Oklahoma State's favored by 7.5 points. So I have not changed my stance on Oklahoma State. I was impressed with them last week. I still think this is a top 10 team. I think they're really, really good. Plus they're playing at home. So if you look at that and you say they don't really have much of a chance of losing, but I don't know about Arkansas because that offense looked really, really good last week. I know it was against a bad opponent, but still a touchdown on all 10 drives, didn't give up a single point. The Bobby Petrino factor there, how much better are they going to actually be? I just don't know, and I don't think we're going to know until we see how they play in this game. There are a lot of people picking Arkansas, but again, there are also a lot of people that think Oklahoma State's overrated. I do not. I think they're a legit team, a legit top 10, top 15 team. So it's just the unknowns with Arkansas, the SEC versus Big 12. This one should be a lot of fun, and I think this is probably the second biggest game or second game. Well, I don't know. There are a lot of great games. You got Nebraska, Colorado. You got Iowa, Iowa State. That spread was not big enough to put on the video, but Iowa State can absolutely win that game. So there are a lot of really good games. You look at the schedule this week. This week maybe doesn't have as many big games as week 1, but they have more good games, and it's a lot better than the week 3 schedule. Week 3 schedule is pretty weak. But yeah, this week 2 schedule is going to be good. We're going to see a lot of good games. Tyler is going to be on the channel tomorrow with some predictions, so watch for that video and let me know who you think should be on upset alert this week. Give me your thoughts down in the comments below.